Hi guys, this is Ashley, and this week I got an interesting question from MWinter264. And his situation is he actually met up with his ex recently, and he did all the right things. He made changes to himself. He was feeling good. There was things happening in his life. He was clearly prepared and positive at this meeting. Now, the interesting thing was she came into this meeting at a different headspace. She started to talk about problems she had. Problems she had at work, with her mom, with her kids. Clearly, she was not in a very good mood and had a lot of stuff going on in her life she wasn't happy about. Now, when she was talking about her problems, he was being what he thought was the right thing, being supportive, listening to her, understanding, which is great. But then, he started to talk about sharing with her all the things that had been happening with him, and I guess all the good stuff that was happening with him. And then he noticed that she became more quiet and she wouldn't look at him, wouldn't make eye contact. Just stared at the table the whole time. And then at the end of the lunch, she left really quickly. And I think, it left him really baffled as to what actually happened because, from his perspective, he thought he did everything right. Now, this is something I think that is much more common in women. Women tend to talk about problems. Men tend to just keep problems inside to deal with on their own, but women like to share problems and things like that. Now, if you go to a meeting with your ex and you notice that she's not in the greatest mood, she's down about herself, down about this or that, and she's just not in a good mood, you may want to hold off talking about how great your life is, because just by pure comparison, if you're talking about how great your life is, it's going to make her feel worse about her life. Just think about this. Just, if you are feeling really bad about yourself, you're having a down day, you feel like a loser for whatever reason this day, and then you meet up with a friend and they are talking on and on about how great they're going, like how they won the lottery and they won this job promotion and is doing all this stuff and it's really happening, you're gonna, yes, you should feel good, sure, feel happy for that person, but ultimately we're human beings, right? We're going to feel pretty bad about ourselves just by comparison, right? We tend to feel worse if someone else we're talking to is doing really, really well. So this is probably what happened here, is that she was like down here and then you were up here, and didn't quite, it just felt disconnected. And the thing is now, she might have associated you with feeling bad, because that's what tend to happen. If you constantly see a friend when you feel bad and they're doing good, after a while you tend to want to avoid that person, because you notice every time you see them you feel bad, or you feel worse, and it starts to become a pattern. All right, so now if this is just a one-time thing, then it's okay, but you don't want this pattern to continue to go on and on. So it's definitely something to watch out for. So yes, prepare to have a good conversation and make changes, but watch very closely to your ex-girlfriend and watch their mood. What are they talking about? What are they frustrated about? If they're really down, or if they're down and they're frustrated or whatever it is, and especially if she is not sharing in your good news and things happening with you, then you may want to switch it back onto her and ask her what's wrong, and get her talking again about her problems. Because women tend to feel better after we talk about problems. With that said though, you also don't want to fall into the trap of being associated with just problems. So if every time she sees you, she's talking about problems or this or that, then then the next time she sees you, she'll just feel like all her problems again. That kind of negative association is also not a good thing. And this is something I also talk about if you're a guy and you're stuck in the friend zone with a woman. If you're friends with a woman that you would like to get with, but she only talks about problems with you, that is typically a bad thing, because a woman who is trying to attract a guy or looks at a guy like he could be a potential mate, she would never talk about problems with him, especially in the beginning, because she is trying to attract him. Problems. A woman talking about problems is probably the least attractive thing she could do for herself. So if a woman is talking about problems with you, then most likely she sees you as a friend and she's trying to get emotional support, and that's what friends are typically for. So yeah, that's definitely one of the first very clear signs that she sees you as a friend. Now, the way to get around this is you really need to stop that pattern from continuing. Okay, so you don't want to turn into this advisory sort of person for her. Always giving advice or always being supportive and understanding. All right, be supportive and understanding, but don't always give advice. All right, so listen to her, but what you want to do is to change the topic and talk about something that is more safe and more enjoyable. And typically you want it to be like not so close to her problems or anything too personal. Just think about when you first was getting to know her. What did you talk about then? What was some of the silly things that you talked about? It probably was like nothing. Stuff that were just very safe sort of stuff, make her laugh, and movies or things like that. Just try not to talk too much about personal problems, I guess. Eventually though, later on, as you rebuild that rapport, then of course you can get closer by talking about more in-depth, intimate things. But when you're first still trying to re-attract your ex, you want to keep things casual, light, and brief. Right? If her experiences with you are mostly in that kind of area, then it's a lot better and a lot easier to make her miss you as well. So that's definitely something to keep in mind, to match your ex's mood when you meet them, and to try to steer the conversation into something positive, right? And if you find that at that moment she's just in a bad mood, that's okay, right? Try again later when she's not in a bad mood, just so you can have a chance to re-spark something. I know Valentine's Day is coming up, and a lot of you will probably be struggling with that, or holidays are always pretty difficult if you're going through a breakup. I think the biggest thing with this is to try to just enjoy being single on Valentine's Day and not dwell too much on your ex, what they're doing, who they're doing it with, or anything negative like that. And definitely trying to avoid contacting them at all costs. So that's pretty much about it. If you have any questions, let me know, and I'll be back with more next week.